First day of the third plenary session, Xi Jinping introduces new slogan. Xi Jinping's new qualitative productivity faces potential Trump blow? China's GDP may have. Shenzhen unemployment skyrockets, jobless pretend to go to work at libraries. Mainland China houses show suspended buildings, experts expose shoddy construction. It's all covered in today's China Truths. First day of the third plenary session, Xi Jinping introduces new slogan. Just before the start of the 20th third plenum of the Chinese Communist Party, a surge in public support for former U.S. President Donald Trump followed an assassination attempt against him as he campaigns for another term as U.S. president. This surge led analysts to speculate that a Trump victory in the upcoming November elections could be catastrophic for the CCP. Additionally, an incident involving tankers that mixed chemical and edible oils occurred on the eve of the plenum. Independent commentator Deng Yuan reported in the Voice of America that this incident sparked public outrage, shattering the government's crafted image of social stability prior to the plenum, triggered by the state media's enforced loyalty to the party. These incidents add an element of suspense to the meeting. Xi Jinping faces these challenges on the eve of the 20th third plenum. There are also rumors about a significant military reshuffle and riot police encircling a military compound on Xiangshan Road in Beijing. Many analysts believe that Xi is now confronted with the critical choice between saving the Communist Party or saving China. Any attempts at reform could spell the end for the party, whereas resistance to reform could lead to the nation's downfall. The third plenum is a secretive meeting and a component of the CCP's non-transparent political practices. The party's media, CCTV, did not even report on the opening of the plenum on July 15. Nevertheless, Qiushi, the leading official theoretical journal and news magazine of the CCP, published an article by Xi Jinping titled "Must Adhere to Self-Confidence and Self-Reliance," where she introduced a new slogan, declaring that we must stick to Marxism and avoid eating foreign food without digesting it. This is interpreted as an indication that Xi Jinping is opting to follow Mao Zedong's old path, possibly signaling a return to a planned economy. Independent media figure Kai Shinkuan observed that in this 6,000-word article, Xi Jinping's name appears 15 times, the word party 60 times, whereas the phrase reform and opening up is mentioned only 5 times. This article serves as Xi Jinping's manifesto for centralization over the next decade. Qing Xiang, an expert on China issues, conveyed to Radio Free Asia his belief that Xi Jinping is worried that persisting with a market economy approach could cause the party to lose its ruling power. Qing Xiang explained that within the Communist Party, there has long been a prevailing belief that reform will end the party, while no reform will end the nation. As reforms enable market forces to expand significantly, there will naturally emerge a counterforce aimed at preserving the party. Xi Jinping consistently promotes the four confidences and the idea of not becoming westernized as strategies to balance economic development with maintaining party control. However, historical examples from the former Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc suggest that the coexistence of party power and national prosperity is untenable. Additionally, Voice of America published an article by Pu Huangyu that highlights the discussions on self-confidence and self-reliance featured in Qiushi magazine on the first day of the third plenum. The article portrays these discussions as seemingly ignoring the severe challenges faced by the Chinese people, including economic depression and issues with edible oil pollution, as though there were no significant problems, crises, or conflicts currently in Chinese society. Pu Huangyu further noted in the article that these signals suggest the Beijing authorities are implementing comprehensive measures to mitigate any potential repercussions from the third plenum. This includes a covert directive from the Central Propaganda Department that forbids all media from reporting on 70 specified topics. The recent session of the third plenum was thus held under an atmosphere of unparalleled repression and secrecy. Pu Huangyu posits that Beijing's greatest fear might be that the plenum could unveil the true internal crisis within the CCP leadership, specifically the collective lying flat within the party. Pu Huangyu notes that this kind of collective inaction, similar to the public's own lying flat phenomenon, is evident not only at the grassroots and middle levels of the CCP but has also spread to the very core of the party. Even Zhang Nanhai is lying flat. Following the conclusion of the third plenum, it's worth paying attention to whether a Great Depression is inevitable. Since the beginning of the year, political and economic scholars have repeatedly warned that the Chinese economy displays clear characteristics reminiscent of the Great Depression in the United States. Xi Jinping's new qualitative productivity faces potential Trump blow? China's GDP may have. China's economy is once again on a downturn, as shown by the latest data released by the CCP on July 15, the day the meeting commenced. According to the data, the Chinese economy grew by 4.7% year-over-year in the second quarter. This percentage was below expectations and also lower than the growth rate of the previous quarter. Heron Lim from Moody's Analytics spoke to BBC Chinese, stating, China's economy applied the brakes in the second quarter. Xi Jinping's economic focus. A Wall Street Journal report from the same day highlighted Xi Jinping's focus on economic security. He aims to reduce China's dependency on Western technology and foreign semiconductors, striving for dominance in sectors crucial for the future, such as clean energy, electric vehicles, and advanced computing. Party slogans like New Quality Productivity and High Quality Growth emphasize these tech-driven sectors, vital for China's growth. However, economists suggest that merely increasing manufacturing investment will not solve China's challenges. The surge in exports of electric vehicles and steel could trigger retaliatory measures from the United States, the European Union, and other regions, leading to further trade disputes and damage. Dr. Dan Wang from Hang Seng Bank in Shanghai mentioned that the government is reluctant to pivot to short-term stimulus measures, such as distributing cash to households. Instead, they are likely to re-emphasize improving supply chains and enhancing high-tech industries. BBC Chinese reported that this strategy aligns with Beijing's gamble on propelling economic recovery and dominance in high-tech sectors like renewable energy, artificial intelligence, and computer chips. In June, China's trade surplus reached $99 billion, with a sharp increase in exports and a decline in imports. However, this strategy faces hurdles. Major trade partners such as the European Union and the United States have already implemented trade barriers like additional tariffs on electric vehicles and chips manufactured in China. Economic imbalances and deflation concerns. Xi Jinping's economic strategies are increasingly showing their limitations. By focusing only on increasing factory output without boosting demand, this has led to a continuous drop in prices, subdued corporate profits, and increasing international concern over the rapid increase in Chinese exports. Notably, in China, the workforce in the service sector surpasses that in manufacturing, but Xi's policies rarely mention improving the earnings and expenditures of these workers. China has experienced deflation for 5 consecutive quarters, raising concerns of following Japan's prolonged deflation, which lasted 18 years. Deflation, reflecting weak demand, has seen retail sales rise by just 2% in June year-over-year, automobile sales dropped by over 6%, and the real estate market continued to languish. This economic environment makes businesses wary of borrowing and investing. The People's Bank of China might lower interest rates to address slowing credit growth, although this could weaken the yuan and affect bank profitability. The central bank's recent statements have focused on refining policy decisions rather than drastic changes. UBS's warning and economic projections. On July 16, Bloomberg reported a UBS study warning that a 60% tariff on all Chinese imports to the U.S. could have China's annual growth rate. This scenario underscores the risks if former President Trump, who has considered a uniform 60% tariff on Chinese imports, were to return to the White House. UBS economists predict that this could decrease China's GDP by 2.5 percentage points within a year. The Chinese government aims for about 5% growth this year, but UBS's projections, assuming no Chinese retaliation or additional countries joining U.S. tariffs, suggest a primary impact from reduced exports and decreased consumption and investment. Despite strong export momentum contributing to 14% of China's GDP growth this year, increasing tariffs from trade partners concerned about imbalances pose risks. UBS notes that Chinese retaliatory measures could escalate tariff impacts by raising import costs, potentially deterring U.S. importers if a trade war resumes. Despite potential stimulus measures, UBS forecasts China's economy to grow by 4.6% next year and 4.2% in 2026, though these rates could fall to 3%. To mitigate tariff effects, China might use fiscal and loose monetary policies, possibly funded by issuing special government bonds. UBS economists also suggest that the People's Bank of China might devalue the yuan by 5% to 10%. In June, China's trade surplus soared to its highest level since at least 1990, driven by robust export growth and weak domestic demand that reduced imports. The General Administration of Customs reported that June exports rose by 8.6% year-over-year to $308 billion, reaching nearly two-year highs, while imports fell by 2.3% to $209 billion, resulting in a trade surplus of $99 billion, the largest in over 30 years and surpassing forecasts. Shenzhen unemployment skyrockets, jobless pretend to go to work at libraries. On July 15, the Mainland social event creator Halve published an article on Sohu News, stating that a phenomenon in bustling Shenzhen has recently drawn widespread attention and discussion. Many unemployed netizens claim that they choose to pretend to work in libraries to maintain their daily routines and avoid worrying their families. The libraries are crowded during workdays. According to online sources, even on workdays, the Shenzhen Library in Hongshan, Longhua District, is packed, mostly with young people. Many young people bring a computer, some send resumes, some watch videos, and some sleep with their heads in their hands. Halve stated that for these unemployed individuals, the library has become a temporary refuge. Perhaps when they step into the library in the morning, they still hold the hope of finding a new job. The desks and chairs in the library have become their temporary office. They diligently browse job websites, carefully revise their resumes, and do not miss any possible job opportunities. However, beneath this seemingly calm surface lies deep anxiety. Each wait after submitting a resume, each anticipation and disappointment after an interview, gradually erodes their confidence and patience. Halve believes this phenomenon reflects the inadequacy of the social support system. When the unemployed face difficulties, there are not enough channels and resources to obtain effective help and support. If society could provide more job training, psychological counseling, and employment information services, perhaps they would not need to pretend to work in libraries and could face the challenges of unemployment more confidently and calmly. Previously, data released by the Shenzhen Municipal Bureau of Human Resources and Social Security showed that in the first quarter of 2024, the number of newly registered unemployed persons in Shenzhen increased by 40% year-on-year and by 15% compared to the previous quarter. It is worth noting that the number of newly registered unemployed does not include those who were previously registered as unemployed. Hong Kong media outlet South China Morning Post reported on July 4 that the statistics on the unemployment rate in Shenzhen are incomplete, as some layoffs may not be recorded or reported. Therefore, the officially announced number of unemployed persons is only a part of the total number of unemployed. Mainland China houses show suspended buildings, experts expose shoddy construction. According to Chinese media outlet, The Paper, on June 30, Mr. Chen, a homeowner in Greenland inner-city space in Zhuzhou, Hunan Province, reported that the apartment he bought had such poor quality that he could easily poke 2 holes in the floor with PVC pipes and wooden sticks. He said, "Who knew that large chunks of cement would fall off, and the floor could be easily pierced with just a couple of pokes with a stick? It's all just sand and dust." Mr. Chen felt helpless as this was a school district house they had spent hundreds of thousands of yuan, approximately over $13,770 on for their child's education. The developer responded that it was a minor quality issue, claiming that the holes were left intentionally for construction and only affected the appearance, not safety. However, the response only attracted further criticism from the mainland Chinese online community, saying that they don't value human lives at all. Regarding the easily poked holes, a professional said, they are indeed alignment holes, but there was corner cutting in the later filling stage. Who fills alignment holes with cement mortar? They should be filled with fine aggregate concrete. The alignment holes should be cast with micro-expansion fine aggregate concrete. Even alignment holes shouldn't be dealt with so poorly. On our construction sites, we add straight steel bars and then fill with cement. Alignment holes are generally small holes used in construction for marking and measurement, as well as for running wires, pipes, or other infrastructure. Chinese-American structural engineer Mr. Yu told the Epoch Times that alignment holes are necessary, but if the concrete used is not of sufficient grade, elasticity, or if not enough steel bars are used, it would be unsafe even without holes. Under heavy load, it could crack or even collapse. An hollow column is essentially a useless column. Recently, shoddy construction in commercial housing has been frequently exposed. According to the YouTube channel The Unpublished China, in order to meet delivery deadlines, facilities have been falsified. Some fire hydrants have no water and sewers don't drain. In some buildings, water leaks into the basement, causing flooding. Solid wood environmental protection security doors, when peeled open by hand, are found to be assembled with cardboard inside. Iron railings are rusted, and the guardrails are not safe to hold. On May 16, a netizen reported that the Evergrande Four Seasons Shandong community in Shenyang was a shoddy construction project. In the video, the sewer was half-blocked, and the homeowner couldn't reach inside. The shafts covered by wooden boards under the roadside tiles could be lifted by hand. The homeowner said, "This project is simply trash." In Pingtan County, Fujian Province, many hollow columns were found. The main bearing columns in the hall could be broken open by homeowners, revealing bent rebar inside, becoming suspended columns. There were cracks in the floor slabs and main beams, repaired by recasting with cement, with cracks everywhere. Netizens mocked the situation, saying that, in ancient China, we had the hanging temple, now we have hanging buildings, or a Chinese characteristic, impressive on the surface but rotten inside. Mr. Yu stated that if steel columns are hollow, it is generally reasonable as they are not solid in the middle. However, concrete columns should not be hollow, they should be filled solidly with concrete and rebar. He said, concrete must have a certain strength, that is, a water-cement ratio. To achieve strength, the amount of cement must be sufficient and tested. Because cement is expensive, cutting corners means using less cement, less sand, and cheap stones, resulting in a column that does not meet design strength, causing it to peel off, making it essentially a useless column. It must be demolished and redone. On May 8, the authorities reported that the ground subsidence at Evergrande Residential Complex in Yuzhong County, Lanzhou, Gansu, was caused by rainwater backflowing and wetting the soil between the foundation piles, creating voids below. The foundation structure of the buildings showed no obvious abnormalities. Netizens commented that it was likely because the backfill soil was not compacted properly and was filled in one go, which is common in rushed construction projects nowadays. The foundation wasn't filled properly, and the building's main structure was already half-built. Building foundations, why the settling and shaking? On July 3, a blogger reported that Hangzhou East Railway Station had platform subsidence issues, with a 30-centimeter gap between the platform and the train, forcing passengers to jump downstairs. There were also cracks on the platform, forming a slope. Local netizens commented that the area around Hangzhou East Station was previously farmland and silt, with soft soil underneath, which would inevitably cause subsidence over time. On June 24, Bank Financial Center Tower A in Changcheng, Foshan City, Guangdong Province, experienced shaking, with some residents saying it felt like being on a boat. People noticed that furniture, kettles, and even elevator doors inside were constantly shaking. They said, "It's the whole foundation that's shaking." The structural engineer, Mr. Yu, stated that designing and constructing a foundation is quite challenging. For a building's load bearing, in addition to architects and structural engineers, a soil mechanics engineer is also required to examine the soil type beneath the foundation, whether it's silt, sand, or rock. This assessment is crucial for foundation design, and there should be no cutting corners. Because once there's corner cutting, foundation problems might not be noticeable immediately, but over time, it will definitely settle or tilt, potentially causing cracks or deformations in the upper structure. Regarding the shaking of high-rise building foundations, Mr. Yu believes it's possible because the foundation is a support structure that requires not only strength but also stiffness and resistance to vibrations, such as from wind. Wind-induced vibrations can move the foundation. High-rise buildings must be robust enough to withstand both earthquakes and wind forces without excessive shaking, which requires stringent design standards to prevent resonance. Corruption, economic decline, and corner-cutting in China. Additionally, due to heavy rainfalls almost every year, numerous road and railway collapses occur in mainland China. On July 8, the newly renovated and completed Jinshui River embankment in Zhengzhou, costing 2.5 billion yuan, about $344.3 million USD, collapsed after a rainstorm. The water level had not even risen yet, but the embankment still collapsed. Exiled dissident Fan Zhigui, who resides in the Netherlands, believes that under the Chinese Communist Party's corrupt system, projects are subcontracted multiple times, with most of the costs siphoned off by corrupt officials. The contractors have very little money left for construction, leading to frequent corner cutting. Large-scale shoddy construction is inevitable. He said, the main reason now is the economic downturn. Consumers can't afford to buy homes, and real estate funds aren't being recouped quickly enough to continue construction, leading to a large number of unfinished projects. Local finances are also tight due to the economic slowdown, making it impossible to reduce or waive land sale fees. No matter how bad the project is, the government won't cut its fees by a penny. If the government doesn't return the land sale revenue, no amount of regulation will give developers the funds they need to complete the projects and deliver the homes. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.